Mike Hammett for SWOSUathletics.com and talking with football coach Dan Cocannouer as the Bulldogs report Sunday. Practice opens Monday, and first game a month away, September 2nd against Arkansas Monticello on the road. First home game September 9th against Ouachita. And here we go. I know something we've talked about through the spring and even a couple times this summer. You talked about the complacency a year ago at the beginning of the season with the group, and it kind of took a few games to finally get it going. So what do you take away from last year and that experience, and how do you apply it to this year's team?
I mean, you remind them. I mean, I sat down after the season going, I can't believe we didn't, the one that just really kind of gets me is the first one against Southern Ark. Have them down 17-0, and then they come back and beat us, and they end up going 9-2. And I'm going, you're kidding me, But again, I just felt like, and I said this to the players, I said this to the coaches, I think we all came in thinking we were going to be pretty good. We had a great season. We had all those people coming back, and, here we go. But, and kind of had the feeling that, we thought we'd go out there on the field and people go, uh-oh, it's a Bulldog, and it didn't happen. And then it's about halfway through the season we kind of woke up and said, holy, let's go, guys. And I still believe that if we'd have played the first half like we did the last half of the season, we could have won 2 or 3 more ball games besides what we had. And it would have made a difference in some of the games later on down the line, too. But I've been preaching that, talking about it all winter long, all spring long. Last thing I talked to the players individually on the first part of May was that same thing. They better come in here with a different frame of mind. And so I think these guys understand as far as how disappointed we were last year and get that hunger, that look in the eye again about as far as, let's go, let's pick it up and let's go do something. And I believe this group right here, they feel the same way I do about it. So that's what I'm excited about bringing them in this fall.
When you look at this year's team, let's talk about some of the guys you bring back anyway. And it starts with Austin Loomis, who's been around this program forever, it seems like, on the defensive side. What do you look for somebody like him to bring to the table and help lead this group? What does Austin need to do to help?
Well, I mean, his actions, I've talked to him about this. To me, because people say, well, you're going to have some young guys out there. How's he going to do it? Well, I mean, to me, his actions as far as how he practices, how everything he does is that these younger guys can be looking at that. And he's going to have to show them this is what you got to do to be in this stage right in here. And, I had a long talk with him at the very end of the season about that. And anybody that I felt like was going to be a captain, a guy that's the leader of his team, they need to understand that. So, but I think that's going to be a big benefit for him because he understands as far as what's going on and how we're going to get that. But, I mean, he's going to have to show it in the weight room. He's going to have to show it on the practice field, let those other guys see, okay, this is what we got to do to be where we want to be at. And so, I think that's going to be a big benefit.
You look on that defensive line, too, got a couple guys that have a lot of experience with Dustin Johnson and hope to keep Tyler Follis healthy, I know, this year. When you have those guys in particular and some others that have some experience up front, how's that help the defense as a whole to be able to have experience on that line?
Well, I think this spring showed as far as what our defense was doing. We were real concerned about the defense this spring. We lost so many. But I just was very pleased where we had some young kids step up and go. And Tyler Follis, he's going to be a senior. If he stays healthy, he'll be the top defensive lineman in the conference. There's no doubt about it. I know at the last part of the season when he went into play, the other coaches asked me, where's number 99? Well, he's hurt again. And so I just think that's one thing about having him stay in there. He's going to get that going. Dustin Johnson picked it up and had a great spring. I think his, the motor running on him, he's going to cause, some problems with as far as a quarterback. And then you go on the other side, you got TJ Harris back as far as the other defensive ends. So I think that front bunch, we got some, DJ Johnson, some other kids up there that I think that's going to be very strong. And then you got Austin back there at linebacker, and then, we got a couple of guys filling in on that spot. And so I think they're going to help out. I think they will help out because too many times last year the quarterback sometimes had a little bit more time to throw the ball. And when that happens, it makes your secondary not look very good. And I think this will help those younger guys that we got back there in the secondary have a little bit more success because I think the front guys will cause a little more problems up front.
You mentioned that secondary, guys like B.J. Kellogg, Quentin Gale. I think when you go through the numbers, there's not necessarily a lot of starting experience, but those guys were in games. They were in those big situations at times last year. How much does it help just to have several guys who have seen some time that are back this year?
Oh, big time. I mean, it does. And I mean, it showed this spring. We were very pleased with that. The big thing is, what we got to do is we got to stay healthy. But that's every team that we're playing is saying the same thing right now. We got to stay healthy to compete. This is a tough conference. And I mean, last year showed that week in, week out, you better be ready to play because this conference, you can get beat anytime. I mean, so we understand that, and our players understand that. And when we come in on Sunday and we start practice on Monday, they're going to know, hey, we're getting ready right now, and we're not going to wait until the 1st or the 1st of October to say, okay, yeah, let's go. No, we got to do it right now.
When you look at the offense and talk about returners there, it starts with Cartrell Henderson, a guy that all the touchdowns he scored a year ago to set school records, I mean, career-wise, season-wise, single game. I mean, he seems to really have a feel for this offense. I mean, how important for that position to have a guy who can lead the way and teach. I know you brought in several other backs, but teach them how this system works.
Right. I think one thing that we did by bringing in these other, like Cedric Cooper is one who, he really looked great in the spring game. But that kind of lets Cartrell realize he can't loaf around. And, that's it. And I don't care what anybody says. When you talk about competition breeds, I mean, that's the thing about it. Even out in practice, he's going to see that he's going to have to pick it up and go. And so I think that's going to be a big plus for us. I mean, he's got the capability of being one of the best ones that ever come through here. And I told him that. I said, you may hold every dang record. I said, but, you've got to get yourself to that next level where people are going to talk about you being one of the greatest ones to ever play here. And he's got that capability of doing it. But he's got to apply it from word go. And I think competition right there is going to help him out as far as reach that level that we're hoping that he gets to.
Offensive line, I mean, you don't have many years where you can bring back every position started games last year, and that's what you have up front. And then you add some depth there. I mean, those guys up front, what do they bring to the table as far as their experience from a year ago?
Well, I mean, we got some good ones in there. I think Garrett Luke is one of the best offensive linemen in the conference. I mean, he may not be the biggest one, but I guarantee smart and work ethic and stuff like that, he's there. But, I was talking to someone earlier about that, about how our offensive line, when you bring in that many guys together, they know what each other's doing. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have to worry about, okay, my responsibility is this, but I hope he does this, because you get that case. And a lot of times, well, you don't know if that guy's going to get that. And so now they can concentrate on their job because they know those other guys, they've been there. They know what's going on. And I think that brings a lot to it. I mean, that adds a lot as far as when you talk about as far as positives, as far as on the offensive side, that's probably about as big as bringing in a quarterback or bringing in a running back. Is because that's where it goes. I don't care what level of competition you play at, as far as in junior high or in the pros. The teams that have the great offensive linemen are the teams that win. And so I think that's going to help us out this year, and it's going to make things great for Cartrell. It's going to make things great for the rest of that offense.
Quarterback position, I know, is new guys, but to have that offensive line back, to have Cartrell back, to have some receivers back as well. You bring in Joel Blumenthal, who can run it. You have Casey Freeman off a redshirt year, who can run it a little bit too. How much do they change the position for you? How much do they change what you can do offensively?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's going to do for us is, I mean, we're still going to do a lot of stuff we did. I mean, we're not going to be able to sit back there with Mark and just, he's tougher than nails. I mean, he took some shots and held that ball and made some big plays for us, and but just didn't run. But the thing is, last year when you take a look at the people we played, the teams that we had most trouble with, their quarterbacks could run. And that kills defenses, because now all of a sudden, now they got to break loose, and now they're just sitting there open things up. So I think that's going to be a different aspect to our offense than what people have seen before. I think it's going to make it more exciting. I think the competition between Joel and Casey is going to be great. I mean, both of them came out of there, did some great things. I think the negative deal for Joel is that he had to learn the offense. Casey already knew it. And so, but still, you saw so many good things about him. So we feel very comfortable about those two guys going out there. And, Tyler Marr had a great spring too. So we got some other quarterbacks there. But those two guys will bring a whole new dimension to this offense. And I think that's going to be one that's really going to be beneficial, especially to those receivers.
As practice kicks off, what do you look for out of these guys? Because these first weeks so critical. So what's the goal here over the first couple of weeks?
Conditioning. I mean, mindset, it's going to be tough because, I mean, we realize that, we were too complacent last year. We've got to push them a little bit, and they've got to come in here. Now, I preach to those guys all through spring and all the last part. They better come in shape, ready to go. We don't have time, but it's going to be tough on them. But, I mean, we want to find out how bad these guys want to play. And I know after meeting with the coaching staff the last few days, I mean, they're excited to go. I mean, they're ready to go in there and get after it. And these players will be the same way. I mean, after spring football, it was very encouraging to me. Very encouraging to me to what I saw with what our players did.
Coach Dan Cocannouer, Bulldogs opening football practice Monday, and the season begins September 2nd at Arkansas Monticello. Hey, Mike Hammett for SWOSUathletics.com as we get ready for another football season. Reporting on Monday, the Bulldogs get after it September 2nd at Arkansas Monticello to open the year. Home opener September 9th against Ouachita. Joined by senior linebacker Austin Loomis. And Austin, boy, here you are, senior linebacker. And I know you've been a big part of this program for a long time, but what's it mean now as you start to come into your senior year to be a senior leader for this team?
I mean, it means everything. It means a lot to me. 5 years on this campus. I've loved every year since I got here. It's kind of hard to believe that this is my 5th year and a redshirt senior at SWOSU. But I've loved every second, and it means a lot.
You look at what this team has. I mean, defensively, you've got some veterans up front. You've got a lot of experience in the back end. You're kind of that anchor in the middle as part of that linebacking core. What do you, coming out of the spring, getting ready for the fall, what do you have as far as how confident is this defensive group?
Well, we're very confident. We feel like we can kind of run around and mix things up better than we have in the past. We have a lot of versatility. We have a lot of good young talent, but then we like that we have a good amount of veterans as well. We have a couple of people up front that are coming back and really good up front, and then our back end is going to be hopefully better than ever.
You look at what you guys have on that defensive line. You mentioned, I mean, Tyler Follis, you've got Dustin Johnson. You've got some guys who put up some good numbers a year ago. How much does that help you as a linebacker when you have guys up front that can take up some offensive linemen and create some space?
Yeah, it helps a ton. For me specifically, having Tyler Follis in front of me and as you probably know, I've had him in front of me since a sophomore in high school too. But having him in front of me has always been incredible. I mean, he demands a double team. You cannot single team him, so that's one less guy to worry about for me. And then for Dustin, we have a lot of good linemen, but Dustin's another good example. He's someone that third and 5 plus, I know that there's going to be quarterback pressure. That quarterback is not going to have all day to throw because of Dustin, and I know that every single time.
I know as far as the secondary is concerned too, in particular, those guys are maybe not a lot of starting experience, but guys that did get into game experience. How much, just in the spring, them seeing snaps, how much did you see those guys improve?
I saw them improve, and I saw that they are hungry because, as you point out, not too much starting experience, but off the top of my head, Quentin Gale and BJ Kellogg, I mean, those two dudes are hungry. They have started some, and they can really break on the ball, and probably they're going to get a lot of picks this year. They can really break on balls.
You look at the offensive side of things too. I know you get another old high school guy back in Joel Blumenthal to help run things over there. I mean, what does he bring to the table? You've known him for a while. What does he bring to this team?
The obvious things that I could point out are what most people point out, and that's his athletic ability. I mean, the guy runs a 4.3, 4.4 flat. I mean, he's just lightning fast. But knowing him so well in a competitive state, he's someone I've played basketball with since 6th grade. I mean, I know his competitive side of him. And to me, that's what we get most from him is his mental edge. He will do anything it takes to get an edge on the opponent. He'll watch film. He'll study himself. And his overall competitiveness and fire is what I love. I mean, he thinks he can beat anyone at anything. Not in a cocky way, just very confident and competitive.
I know talking to Coach Cocannouer a couple weeks ago, he said last year's team came in complacent at the beginning of the season, didn't get after it until you were down 0-4 on the season and then started to put it together. How can you and how can this team avoid that this year, and how can you kind of help lead them past that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's exactly what happened last year, is we just started off slow and soft, and we didn't have like the fire. I mean, we had one good season and kind of got comfortable. And this offseason, it's starting in the spring, it's been all about being uncomfortable, pushing ourselves, doing competitions, not being okay with losing the competitions. Like, there is a punishment, and also not necessarily a punishment, but just in between players. Like, players not being okay with letting other players fail and pushing each other. And that's what it's going to take this season, too, is just holding teammates accountable. Like, don't cut that rep short. Don't cut that sprint short. We need you. Even if you're not a starter, like, we need you.
When you look at what this schedule has in front of you, I mean, you're going to learn a lot about this team right out of the gate, especially going to Monticello, where it's been a struggle for this team in the past, and Ouachita and Henderson State, Southern Arkansas right in there. I mean, 3 teams we're talking projected toward the top of the league. How important is the fast start and getting after it this year?
Really important, and you can tell how important it is because of last year. I mean, we had a good team last year, but we started off slow, and that led to a very mediocre season. So if we start off well, which I know we should, and I'm very confident we will, then we're going to have a great season. But the start, I mean, we finished strong, and that's like kind of our motto, but we got to get it going quick.
Very good. Austin Loomis, senior linebacker for the Bulldogs, season opening up September 2nd at Arkansas Monticello.